Welcome to Hora Tech. Today we are with Paolo Taticchi, Professor of Management and Sustainability at Imperial College London. Paolo, buongiorno.
Buongiorno, good morning.
Good morning. So, Paolo, what is the VUCA environment?
So the VUCA environment is a term that we developed in business schools some time ago to basically describe an environment which is changing extremely quickly, and because of that is extremely volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous. The idea is that today organizations operate in fast-changing industries and markets, and this means that running a business, being an executive or a manager today, is extremely tricky because of that. So the idea of a VUCA environment is the idea to try to understand this complexity first, is the idea to develop tools to navigate this complexity that at the help are meant to support managers to take better decisions. Things like digital transformation, technology, climate change, world population growing, all of these type of trends, they have a big impact on industry and society in general. So while many years ago, I remember when I studied my MBA, I was producing business plans with 6, 7, 8 year time horizon, because in a way it was kind of possible to have an idea of what was going to happen in the next 7, 8 years. Today that's almost impossible, and in fact today we tend to develop business plans for the next 3 years. So the idea of a VUCA environment is this idea that today in business you need to be ready to face change, and if you don't understand that, most likely you're going to fail.
Mm-hmm. So in the history of cinema we have seen dystopias such as Mad Max or WALL-E. Are we going to an apocalypse, or are we in time to reverse it?
That's a good question. I don't believe we are facing an apocalypse, simply because I trust the potential of humans. So I believe that is kind of human nature to spend a lot of time discussing problems, take time to kind of develop solutions, but at the same time I think is human nature that at a certain point, when you feel the sense of urgency, at that point humans take action quickly. Okay, so this means that in the context of for example climate change, we have been discussing climate change for years. We have been debating for more than 20 years if climate change was real or not. Then as soon as we found the answer to that question, and the answer is obvious, yes, climate change is happening, at that point we started another conversation, and the conversation was if it's happening, is it happening because of humans or because of natural phenomena? And again, we lost time in that conversation. And again, now we know the answer. The answer is climate change is driven by human activities. So to answer your question is apocalypse, hopefully not, but there is a reality. The reality is that now it's time to rush. So we need to take this super seriously. We need to kind of create all the incentives possible to boost the policies, because now we have the policies, we know what is needed to get there.
Mm-hmm. Do young people today have the right to reproach our elders for the consequences of their actions when the concept of sustainability did not appear until 1987?
This is a brilliant question. I never received this question. I think they don't. That's my straight answer. I think they don't, because the reality is that, we didn't know about certain things. So today, you look at industry, and many people say industry is the devil because of carbon emissions, because the way they produce, because the materials they use. Now, industry developed, many industries developed significantly after the Second World War, where, there was an important need of feeding people around the world. There was an important need of creating jobs. And basically, industry has done that. We can't truly forget about that. And the reality is that, climate change wasn't, part of the narrative at the time. We didn't know about climate change. We didn't base the industry models or government policies taking that into account. So the reality is that all industries developed in an unsustainable way without realizing that. So I don't believe you can, blame someone for, taking decisions based on the knowledge of the time. But now I believe we can, in a way, blame our parents and industry leaders and society leaders for what has been happening in the last 30 years. Because starting from the 80s, the fact that we were developing in a non-sustainable way was clear. So why we are rushing now? Why we need today, Greta to make us accountable when we have known this situation for 30 years? So basically, what I blame, for example, to industry and policy makers is to not basically take action quickly as it was needed. That was avoidable, but I don't believe we can blame the older generations because of a non-sustainable development.
And that's the last question. How can academic institutions educate in sustainability?
The question is not really how. First of all, they must educate students on sustainability. I think sustainability today is a key topic. So sustainable development should be taught in every kind of faculty, and in the context of business education, corporate sustainability in business should be a core module of every single program. I think this is happening. I think accreditation bodies are pushing for this, and I believe it's gonna help a lot. It's gonna help us a lot to educate a better generation of leaders and decision makers, and this is gonna basically allow us to drive change at the speed we need.
Thank you, Paolo, for this time for us, and I'll see you all in the next Hora Tech.